Okay, I have spent a great deal of time trying to articulate this position that the human person is radically, radically unique in the universe through the act of self awareness, wondering, and free will. So we're saying that um, there's no other creature in the universe like us in the sense that we can do these things. Um, and they constitute for us this radical uniqueness, as we said, as this alterity, this otherness. All right, radical uniqueness. Um, a radical uniqueness that is, we call it alterity. Okay, so many students have argued, well, there's no way you can prove that animals don't have this self awareness. You can't prove it. Okay. You cannot prove, animals not self-aware. Okay, you cannot prove animals are not self-aware. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to offer a proof that seems to make is very clear and makes a lot of sense. All right, so the first part of the proof is this. Let's say there was a alien that came from outer space and landed on the planet somewhere, and we wanted to determine whether the alien was self-aware. Well, the question becomes, how would we decide whether this alien has self-awareness? All right, so is he self-aware? That's what we're trying to figure out, the alien. And as a student already said, it would be ridiculous to somehow like open up his brain and do brain surgery and say, oh, look, there's some self-awareness in there. That's stupid, because you can't do that. You can't take us and put us in a hospital and open up our brains and find self-awareness. It's not you can't discover it in some physical matter of brain tissue. Okay, so to determine whether the alien's self-aware would not involve some kind of brain surgery. Not brain surgery. All right? Not brain surgery. That's not how you're going to find it. So what Aristotle says basically, there's this Aristotle quote that says, you know the power of a thing through its acts. Okay, that's the Aristotelian quote. Aristotle. You know the power of a thing through its acts. Okay? And obviously what that means is, if you wanted to determine whether the alien was self-aware or not, you would just watch what it does. Watch what the alien does, and you can determine whether there's self-awareness. Okay? So, the power of a thing, and this is the thing we're talking about now, is the animal kingdom. In this case, it would be the alien. You know the power of a thing through its acts, by what it does. So what Aristotle's saying is, if you really want to have a concrete proof about this self-awareness, you just have to simply observe and watch what animals do. Watch what they do. And that's where you're going to get, that's how you're going to find out, which makes perfect sense. Okay, so as Aristotle says, you would in order to determine this power of a thing, you would like watch what it can do. Watch what it can do. All right, now so the next thing we have to make clear is something about self-awareness, which is you really have to understand this to kind of move on in the proof. And that's this question: can a creature be halfway self-aware? Is self-awareness a matter of degrees? Okay. Is self-awareness a matter of degrees? In other words, some person can be more self-aware than another person. And that's just absurd. Okay? You can't somehow know you exist and then not know you exist. It's like you can't wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock and say, oh, here I'm going to go get some coffee, or I'm going to go get some breakfast. You know you exist, and then all of a sudden at 9 o'clock, 10, you're no longer self-aware. It doesn't make any sense. You're either self-aware or you're not. It's what we call an absolute. It's an absolute. You can't be halfway self-aware, a quarter self-aware, 7/8 self-aware. Either you are or you aren't, okay? It's not a matter of degrees. It's either there or it isn't. Now, this is very important because when it comes to intelligence, how much a person knows is a matter of degrees. Because intelligence is something where, you can have more or less. Through the act of reasoning and questioning, you can, you're intelligent. Some people are more intelligent than others. This in fact is a matter of degrees, all right? But this self-awareness, no. I either know I am or I don't. I know I exist or I don't. There's no person that has somehow more awareness of himself than some other person, in the sense that there's no person that somehow knows he exists more than someone else. Now, we're not talking about self-awareness here as like, oh, he really knows himself. He's really in tune with himself. He has a real sense of identity. We don't mean that. We're talking about self-awareness in the sense that I'm here and I know I'm here. It's a very simple thing. All right? I exist and I know it. And there's no degrees to that. Either you know you exist or you don't. All right? I know I exist or I don't. All right? It's an awareness of existence itself. Awareness of existence itself. Okay. Okay, now some people will argue, well, excuse me, when you look at a little baby that's first born, is there any self-awareness? And some will argue, well, no, there's no self-awareness. So, does the self-awareness somehow have to does it somehow slowly grow into existence or something? Well, there's a couple of things you can say about that. One thing you can say is this: it's very probable that the infant, when it's born, does have this capacity of self-awareness. The problem is it has to be fed this data of experience in order to, spark the self, bring the self-awareness to fruition. In other words, the infant has the self-awareness, but what it doesn't have experience. So the self-awareness has to be fed what we call the data of experience for the self-awareness to blossom, blossom into existence. It has to be fed, experience, all right? It needs that data of experience for it to grow into its fulfillment, all right? So that would be one argument. Another argument, so the infant has the self-awareness there, data of experience is fed, and the self-awareness blossoms through that data of the experience happening. The second way of looking at it is that, well, maybe, some might argue, well, the baby does have this moment of like, after so much time of the brain developing, that boom, the self-awareness comes about, that the self-awareness, boom, there's this moment of like, of the baby, knowing its existence. But I think this makes more sense to me. All right. Okay, now the next thing we're going to, the next thing we have to say about self-awareness is this. As we said before, once there's the self-awareness, then there's the ability to question. And once you have the question, then you can have an insight. And then once you have an insight, you can have inventions. Okay? So that's the basic pattern of human knowing in the human person, right? There's the self-awareness that gives the creature the ability to separate itself from its experiences and objectify them. And through self-awareness, there comes this power of questioning. And through the questions, you have insights. Now, all that's meant by an insight are answers. And the answers that we glean from our self-awareness and questioning, these answers give us the power to create inventions, So we have, because of this progression here, we have cars, cell phones, computers, buildings, TVs, air conditioners, motorcycles. We just have this zillions and zillions of inventions, Just look in the room right now where you're sitting, and everything you see in that room is a man-made invention from self-awareness, questioning, insight, inventions, all right? So what we have to say about this process, this progression, is that it's accumulative. It develops and grows, right? It accumulates. Cumulative. And what we know is that we never see anything like this. There is none of this accumulation of inventions whatsoever in the animal kingdom. It doesn't exist. There is no accumulation of inventions in the animal kingdom. So what we're saying is this: if there's self-awareness, there is this power of questioning, all right, answers and inventions. And that will just continue to grow as human history grows. It will just continue to grow, because whatever you understand brings forth a new question, which can bring forward new invention. And the point is, there is no accumulation whatsoever of these inventions in the animal kingdom. It doesn't exist. The accumulation of inventions. Does not exist in the animal kingdom. So what we're saying is there is obviously something radically different about us and animals, because no matter what jungle you go in, or in the deep recesses of the sea or something, you simply do not see the development of cities and these accumulation of all of these inventions like you see in human society. They're just not there. So obviously, if the monkeys are still running around and jumping in trees going after bananas, and they don't have cities and they don't have industry, if they don't have any of that stuff, well, obviously there has to be a radical difference. And we're saying the radical difference is right there. Because if you have that, all this follows. All right? If you have that absolute, where you're able to objectify the world, all that follows. But they don't have, when you look at the animals, there's none of this down here. So what that points to is, well, there's none of that because there's none of that, and therefore there's none of that, and that's because there's none of that. That's the argument.